the Financial Survival Network, helping you to survive and thrive in the new economy. Get your free Financial Survival Toolkit and find out where to buy gold and silver safely at great prices. Sign up at financialsurvivalnetwork.com. This is the Financial Survival Network.
1490 WGCH. This is Kerry Lutz, and you're listening to the Financial Survival Network, which is brought to you by Miles Franklin. They've been in business selling gold since 1990, and I'm a customer because when you buy, they ship. To find out more, go to milesfranklin.com or call them at 800-822-8080 and get a free quote. Our old friend David Morgan called us from the road, literally from the road. He's on his way to Montana, and he wanted to talk about some market developments that are going on now. Hey, David, how you been?
It's fine. Thank you, Kerry.
Well, it's great to hear from you. You need a vacation. You're one of the hardest working guys that I know, but talk about people that don't work very hard. Silver Manipulation Report from the CFTC. They've only been working on it 4 years, and now they're threatening to release it by the end of the year. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts are it's probably going to be a bit of a whitewash. I think they'll change position limits, but I don't think they'll have any real teeth to it. In other words, they'll say, well, you can only hold so many contracts in a given month period, but if you're a real hedger, then you're exempt, or something along those lines, which basically is meaningless. In other words, the big bullion banks that are the ones that are controlling the market could be left off the hook. I don't hold a lot of faith that the markets will actually be changed significantly enough to where the manipulation can not be done. But you know, I could be wrong. In fact, I hope I am. I hope that there's a real new position limit set by the CFTC that applies to everybody equally across the board. That's what I'm expecting to see.
Yeah, well, I'll believe it all when I see it, because the manipulation's been going on for God knows how long, probably more than a decade. But I think what'll end the manipulation is perhaps what's going on now, according to that guy, the London trader. Don't know if you ever read his rantings or ruminations on King World News, but he's basically proclaiming the death of the LBMA price fixing scheme for gold.
Well, I do pay attention to that, and I'll tell you almost everything I can see. And of course, I digest my own take on these things. I've said, among many others, that the physical market is what's going to actually have their day at some point. And I really think that we're getting closer. We already really saw it in 2008 during the financial crisis, because silver really got whacked badly. Gold as well, but not nearly the percentage degree that silver did. Silver got cut from about 20 to 10, rough numbers. And yet, buy silver anywhere near the spot price unless you went in and took a delivery of a futures contract. Everything else, silver coins, bags, silver, junk silver, constitutional silver, silver bars, wafers, rounds, eagles, whatever in the silver realm was at 30 or 40% premium to the paper price. And so that was a very clear indicator of the truth. The physical silver supply was extremely tough forms, but commercial bar form. And if you wanted to get the cheap silver or the spot price silver, that's the only form you could buy that was commercial bar form. So I think that now that the market's much tighter than most people believe in, the $27 price, and that this new purchase by Sprott at the Physical Silver Trust of $200 million roughly worth of silver is probably enough to influence the market again. I know it did last time. And that for every, purchase like that, every significant purchase is all additive to boosting the price higher and causes the paper people more and more anguish, because real doesn't equal real silver. And again, that day of reckoning is ahead of us. When exactly, I don't know.
today you haven't been in touch with the markets, you're driving and you're not supposed to text and drive, or even in New York, if you're in New York and you hold a phone in your hand while you're driving, you get a ticket for 3 points. So I'll just bring you up to date. The Kitco prices, gold's up $23.30 an ounce. Silver is up 41 cents the ounce. And we've seen this repeatedly over this dull market where it gets driven down, and then all of a sudden it recoups all its losses in a day. Whereas a couple of years ago, we would see it make these gains, and then it would lose all those gains in a day. So it's real interesting watching this because at some point they're not going to be able to knock it down again.
Well, I hold a slightly different view that they can knock it down again, but probably from a certain price point. Can they knock it down further than the $26 level that we've seen about 3 or 4 times over the last 6 months? And my answer to that is no, they can't. Now, I could be wrong, but and this level that we're at above 27, it just seems to be a good working level that silver really wants to hold above the 27 level. And if it runs, basically what these guys done in the past is that once they realize that they can't, put any pressure on a given price level, they'll let it run. And they'll let it run until it gets such a price point so high that they can start their shenanigans there. And I've seen that, repeated again and again through this last bull market starting, about 12 years ago. So I agree with you, Terry, in theory that, they can't push it down. And certainly I don't think they'll push it down much from here. But, get it back up to 35, 40, 45, yeah, they probably could smash it for a while. But, again, long-term I'm bullish, and I really think that silver's a place to be, gold as well. I'd rather be early in this market than late. I know the market's, been going for well over a decade, but what I mean by that is for people that are contemplating a purchase or people that have just gotten into the market fairly recently and they're thinking, I don't have enough, I should add to my position. I would say, don't wait too long. I think this market could, basically take off by the end of the year or sooner. And all of a sudden you're paying higher prices. Not taking advantage of the price level.
Yeah, and at the same time, we're seeing the dollars getting diminished. You got all these currency swaps going on around the world, basically out of the dollar. And I just want to read you a quote. As long as you're driving, you have to listen to me anyway. This quote from a guy, Tyler Durden at Zero Hedge. We all know Tyler Durden is a pseudonym for somebody or other. While the insolvent developed world is furiously fighting over who gets to pay the bill for 30 years worth of unsustainable debt accumulation and how to pretend that the modern crony capitalist for some and communist for others system isn't one flap of a butterfly's wings away from full-on collapse mode, China is slowly taking over the world's real assets. And that's what this is really about. It's the real assets are flowing to the wealth creators and the paper assets are flowing to the wealth consumers, right?
Oh, well said. I just, I was recently in Hong Kong, as you know, keynote speaker, and that was one of the main thrusts of my speech, was that if you look at the big picture, and you see when the sun never set on the British Empire, they were basically on the pound sterling, they were on honest money, and they basically controlled the world. And when they went on a fiat system, America rose to the fore and became the leader because they were basically producing the wealth, and they were basically on a metallic standard, and everybody was happy. And now we've gone on a pure fiat standard, and China's doing all the wealth creation. They're still on a fiat system, but they're buying gold hand over fist. And they are the ones that are accumulating real wealth, as you said. So I really just repeated what you said, Terry, but it bears repeating because the shift has gone from west to east. That's where the wealth is being created. I mean, this whole conference out was all about buying natural resources, and they didn't say it in so many words, but the theme was get out of dollars to get into resources. That's the thrust. And this is sponsored by Standard Chartered Bank, the largest bank in Asia.
Yep, I think that's what's happening. And they could play these games trying to prop up the system for as long as they can get away with them. But where this is heading, there's no question about it. And that's why any future price you want to put on any metal, you're probably going to be right, because the dollar is fading by the wayside. The question is the fallout from the crash of the developed world. What effect is that going to have on the developing world? That one nobody knows yet, because when their demand dissipates, when it disappears, they'll be left with a lot of resources scattered around the world. But how are the people going to react to that?
Well, I don't have much of any comment on that. I mean, it's an extremely important question, and I don't think anyone has a sufficient answer to it. I mean, in the worst case, obviously, you want to have it on an individual basis where you have, what you need stored up for a while until things get straightened out or get back on track. On a very, macro scale, on a nation state or state basis, then it's a different story. What do you do? And the answer there is, who knows? I mean, the way these governments really don't have nearly the control that a lot think that they do, it could be in for, significant problems.
I have total agreement with you there, David, and looking forward to seeing you again at the next Silver Summit. Have safe travels getting to Montana. Again, sorry for the audio quality. To find David's work, silver-investor.com or themorganreport.com. To hear this interview, as well as numerous other ones I've done with David Morgan, we go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. And we'll talk to you again real soon, David.
Thank you for taking the call.